Hello, this is Noodsgaming, and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. It's a pretty big day in the Raid Shadow Legends community. 3.20 is live. So we're going to do not a super long video, but we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. We're going to go through the news. We're going to talk about the new Fragment Summon, the champion that is up for summoning, as well as a strategy that you might want to implement in order to make sure that you get him. So first things first, let's take a look at the news. So 3.20 is live. As you can see here, we have the new update news, we have 14 new champions released, and the new Fragment event. So let's go through the news. This is similar to what they put up on the Plarium forum regarding the 3.20 patch. So we're just going to go through this quickly. As in my last video, I talked about this already, but for those of you that didn't get a chance to watch it yet, there are four new aspects to the game that Plarium implemented in this new patch. The first thing is going to be permanent new daily login rewards. So if you're someone who is on day 120, so for example, I'll show you mine if I can. Yeah, here we go, daily login rewards. As you can see here, I've already finished up to 270 days. So if you're someone who's at 60, 90, any of the daily login rewards up to 270, then you'll still be able to collect all of those, so there's no worry about that. And as you can see, I already collected mine for the day. The first one's 100 XP boost. And I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details of all these are. If you've been playing long enough, you know exactly what all of these are. Things for the materials for the forge, energy, chickens, all of those kinds of things. And since it's permanent, as you can see here, the word forever, I'm not sure if they're going to be changing these rewards month to month, but we're going to hope that they stay the same, or at least they have a similar rundown, especially since they do have an epic book in here. So that's feature number one. Feature number two is more slots. So we'll go into my champion pool and see. So what it was before was 700 and now it's 1000. Super great. As you can see, I was already at 688. So especially with the new tournaments coming up, new artifacts coming out, all of those things, it's really great that Polarium actually gave players added artifact space, because especially if you're in the endgame, it becomes more and more important to have that artifact space because you're already at a min-max level. So that's one feature, super great. What am I doing? Wow, I'm losing my mind. That's what I'm doing. So that's the second feature. Also champion collection, but let me see if that's actually active. That is not active. So I'm not sure if that's... Oh, here we go. So if you want to expand the collection, I had a bad feeling that they were going to make you pay for it. So if you don't need the extra 100 slots, don't spend your silver or your gems. It's not worth it. For me, I will not be spending, at least not at first, because 200 is more than enough for me. I already have a system for how to recycle my champions, whether it's for champion training or faction wars. So that's that. But by all means, if you're the kind of person that needs the space or just basically wants the space, just know it's going to cost you pretty much an arm and a leg to get the extra 100 slots. So that is that. Next bit is champion battle fixes. I'm not going to go through these because this is going to be really tedious, and you know, it's up in the game. If you play, I definitely recommend going into your news and checking this out. You may have champions that are being updated, whether it's visually or in terms of their kit. They may have some fixes in there for you, so definitely check that out. And last but not least, game experience enhancements. So I already experienced some of these today. So, and if you're someone who plays Raid Shadow Legends first thing in the morning, especially doing your clan boss battle, so you can get them out of the way, the first new feature is going to be for you. Especially if you have an unkillable team, which I talked about in my last video regarding 3.20 before it went live, the clan boss battles now start in manual mode. This is especially important, like I said, for unkillable teams who aren't speed tuned perfectly, that need to have at least a couple of rounds on manual before hitting the auto button. The next thing, apparently there was a bug in the Doom Tower reset while you're still in the battle in the tower. I haven't personally experienced this because I don't play during resets. Because I'm on the East Coast of the United States, this doesn't affect me. But, you know, if this does affect anyone, that's not cool. So I'm definitely glad to see that they fixed that. Let's see. Time spent in-game is now displayed correctly in the clan activity quest window. Also, unless you're in a huge clan, for me, this is a quality of life improvement that I didn't need, didn't even know was going to happen, to be entirely honest. So you can imagine that I can imagine that most people are not going to really need this time spent in-game display in clan activity quests. Now, I understand, from the perspective of wanting the game to run the way it's supposed to, yes, absolutely fix it. But instead of spending time on this, and yes, I am going to grow about this, fix things that are actually going to be important to people. So, whatever those are. But, I digress. Next, the time left until Tag Team Arena refresh is now displayed correctly. See, now this is really good, especially for mobile players, which is how Raid Shadow Legends got started. So if you're someone whose time hasn't been displayed correctly after locking and unlocking your device, whether that's your phone or your tablet, this is obviously going to be something that could be important to you. And yeah, that's it. That's the news for 3.20. Now, let's get to the fun part. We've got 14 new champions released. So, I said in the video that I put out yesterday that I would talk about these champions more in depth if you had any specific champions that you wanted me to talk about. So, I'm not going to go through these in detail right now, but as you can see, there are 14 brand new epic and legendary champions. No rares, thank goodness, because that would just be a waste of time. And yes, there are some really heavy hitters in here. Some champions you definitely don't want to like sleep on if you do wind up getting them. And considering what Plarium has planned now that these new champions are released, definitely make sure to do your pulls whenever you can, if you can afford it. If you can afford it, save it for when you can. I know this as an experienced player. If you're a new player, do not do summons unless there's a 2x event. That is my personal recommendation, because if you do it outside of a 2x event and you're a new player, especially if you're free to play, you're gonna get heartbroken. I've done summonings outside of 2x events, and it was tragic, absolutely tragic. Especially for ancients, yeah, don't bother, wait for 2x events. And we'll get to that later in the video. Now, last but not least, we have the new Fragment event. So, Iron Brago, he's an Orc legendary. As far as I know, he is Spirit. Yeah, here we go. He's a Spirit Affinity and a defensive champion. Now, we'll get into the strategy of all of this after we talk about the champion. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we've got, these are all the fragments that I have not done yet. But here he is, Iron Brago in gray fashion, monolithic in his stance. So let's go ahead and take a look at the champion. Looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. I do like the aesthetic. From an artistic perspective, I don't like the color combinations, but that's just me personally. Some people may like the primary color thing that he's got going on. I do like the fact that the maces that he has are flaming. I think that's an interesting thing, just from game physics alone. I don't know how that's going to translate into his abilities, but we shall see. Other than that, I feel like they have samurai on the brain, with his like very Japanese like battle standard. We're gonna call it a battle standard, even though it's not a battle standard. But his back pieces, as well as the motif of his helmet, very Japanese in my opinion. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. I'm curious to know what you guys think about his aesthetic. Do you think I'm crazy for thinking that Plarium is trying to gear us up for the new Samurai faction that's supposedly coming out? Or or are they just playing around with the orcs and trying to change up some of the geometry that they've put on other champions? So that being said, let's get into his abilities. His A1, it's a single target attack with a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. That's unbooked. Up to 30% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. This is actually really cool for something. So, for example, in Faction Wars, if you're struggling with orcs and you're on one of the bosses, especially if one of the bosses in a has mirror universe, an attack like this, if you don't have it timed properly, in terms of the boss stealing your buffs, this could be super helpful. So, and that's his A1. This is his A2. Fearless Charge places a 60% increased defense buff on allies for 3 turns, which is already amazing. Then attacks one enemy. Really cool, especially since he's a defense-based champion. An increase of 30%, an increase of 60% on his defense, and now he is level 1. So, actually, what I'm gonna do is show you him at level 60. That way, we can get a better idea of what his kit is actually going to be like. So, all right, so 18,000 HP. Pretty good for, actually really good for a defensive champion. 1400 defense, 99 speed, which is decent. Actually pretty fast for a defensive champion. It would be nice if it were over 100, especially since he's a legendary, but that's that. And he does actually have quite a bit of resist at 50, and even a little bit of accuracy at starting at 10. So yeah, so those are his stats, and now we can take a look. If he's at 1400 and you add 60% without any gear, completely naked, that's, what's that? We'll round it up to 150. 150 times 6, that's 600 defense. 600. 600 defense. So he would already be at 2087 roundabouts just from this ability alone. And you can book it to a 3-turn cooldown if you can afford the books. So, with the rest of the ability, which has a 75% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, or a 2 turns if instead of the target is under 2 or more debuffs. This is like his bread and butter. If you are lucky enough to just get his A2 down to 3 turns, up to level 7, oh my goodness, this is gonna be, it would be amazing. So I'm really hoping, really gonna be working hard for this fragment just for that ability alone, excuse me, because my orcs are struggling hard in the faction wars. Now, his A3, this is really cool, especially for a defensive champion, because it reminds me of an orc version of Krisk, where it's an AoE that places a provoke and also places a 50% decrease to attack debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, as long as Iron Brago is under or has an increased defense buff on him. So if you do this immediately after you do Fearless Charge, he will also be able to place the 50% decrease attack debuff. Super important. Regardless of what content you're playing, decreased attack and decreased defense are going to be primary debuffs that you're going to want to be able to incorporate into any of your teams, whether it's dungeon runs, faction wars, or Doom Tower, or and arena as well. So last but not, and this actually comes down to a 3-turn cooldown as well, which is interesting. So these two abilities, 3-turn cooldown, I can imagine the only issue I can see is that on auto, you may have the same problem that Sir Nicholas has, that he may not properly place the correct attack. So he may constantly do Battle Storm instead of doing Fearless Charge and then Battle Storm, if that makes any sense, because they'll be on the same cooldown. And second to last but not least is his passive. Another great defensive champion. Passive increases the defense of all allies by 10% of this champion's defense. Amazing. If you if you gear him up to at least 4K, that's 400 defense. Plus, if on top of that, with his Fearless Charge, oh my goodness. Come on, it's like he could literally be the best defensive champion in the game. Based on his kit alone. So there's that. And he also is going to be very effective in Doom Tower battles because he does increase your allies' defense in Doom Tower battles by 34%. So overall, I think Plarium did a really great job with his kit, really great job with his stats. So if you get the chance to summon him through the Fragment Summoning, that's amazing, and I hope he does really well for whoever pulls him. So that's that. Now we're going to do a quick rundown of the actual event itself. So the events actually started today with the Iron Golem. Oops, what am I doing? And nope, that's not what I want. I want the news. There we go. So here we go. Got it lined up. So these are the events. So Plarium says there are going to be a total of 165 fragments, which gives you a little bit more room to actually choose which events you want to be doing and when, based on what you can afford, if you are a pay-to-win player, or if you're free to play, what you can do based on what you have or what you've saved up in terms of your energy, not your gems. Don't spend your gems. That would not be intelligent unless you can actually afford it, which means you're no longer free to play. As well as your time frame. So for example, I'm going to be running my Ice Golem tournament today to try to get as many points as possible so I can get a maximum of 10 fragments by the 17th. And then I'm probably going to, and so the big ones are obviously going to be the Summon Rush, because Plarium is obsessed with summonings in this game because that's their big moneymaker. The Champion Training Event, which starts tomorrow, which is also 20 fragments. The Champion Chase Tournament, which also starts at the same time as the Champion Training Event and is 15 fragments, as well as the Champion Training Tournament from January 23rd to the 27th, which is actually the second to last event, and that's also for 15 fragments. If you know that you can only do certain events, try and go for the big ones, because the big ones will also offer significantly better rewards along the way in order to get those fragments. So for example, with the tournaments, like I said, the Ice Golem tournament is live, and it's going to be live for about 3 days until the 17th. What is it, 17th? Yeah. In my group, we're already at 535. So you can see these rewards are super basic. Nothing crazy going on here. If anything, the only thing that they've changed is the fact that you get the 5 fragments for Iron Brago. but that's about and increase the amount of gems that you can get at the second place reward. Not second place reward. The second to wow. How do I want to put this? The reward just under the epic book. So if you have the energy, if you have the time to spend, definitely try and get this. If for no other reason than to get the 5 fragments and the epic book, because if you've been playing for a while, you know that books come very, very rarely. So when you can get them, I would definitely recommend doing it. So, and that's the tournament. As you can see, Classic Arena and Champion Chase are also starting tomorrow. So if you have time to do those, if you can do as many events as possible in the same time frame, do them. Otherwise, choose accordingly based on the rewards that are being provided in either the events or the tournaments. I personally prefer doing the events, like the Dungeon Divers event in particular that's up right now. As you can see, you get a rare book, 2 superior spirit potions, which are pretty challenging to actually get unless you can do 30 or more runs in the spirit dungeon. And also 500,000 silver, which is going to be super important. Oh, actually, in total, 800. Yeah, so 1,000,000 silver in this event alone. So if you can do this within the 3 days and 20 hours, definitely do it. You get 1,000,000 silver, a rare skill tome, you get the 5 champion fragments, and a superior spirit potion. You basically get equipped with everything that you're going to need for the other events. So for example, the artifact enhancement event, there are no fragments in here. So if you don't have the silver, unless you desperately need the energy, get to 4,000 and get out. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. 4,000 should take you, depending on how much silver you have. It might be a little tough, but if you can pull it off, you'll have 350 energy. You'll have a superior arcane potion and another 50 gems. So, as well as a rare skill tome. So, do what you can. Strategy is focus on the events that you know you can do that provide the biggest bang for your buck. And again, I'm going to say this because this is the end of the video. Champion Training Event is going to be a big one. Summon Rush as well, which happens the day after the Champion Training Event is over. So, weird timing there. Plarium, not cool. And also, where are the other two? Am I losing my mind again? Yeah. And then the Champion Chase Tournament, which happens at the same time the Champion Training Tournament starts, as well as event and the Champion Training Tournament, which happens during the Summon Rush. So that's 20. If you can complete them, it's 20, 40. That's 70 points in total right there. And then you can pick and choose wherever you want out of the rest, out of the tournaments and stuff. So that's my recommendation. You know, I am Brago, amazing champion. If you can go for him, go for him. Don't break the bank. You know, there's a Summon Rush coming with the 2x Ancients event this week starting tomorrow. So if you have the gems and you have the silver, try to get the Summon Rush through. Try to get the points in that tournament, Champion Chase tournament. Try to get through that. And if you can get the 20 fragments there, that'll set you up for the rest of the time up until the end of the event, which I believe is on the 28th. The Fragment Summoning Event, which ends on the 28th. So I know that's a lot to digest. Thank you for being patient with me. It's a lot of, you know, gargle, Google goop in terms of the amount of information that I've spit out here. But if you have any questions, you know exactly what to do. And if you've liked this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. There are going to be more videos coming out for Raid Shadow Legends as this Fragment Summoning event comes out. So I'm going to try and make sure that I keep up with all the events, just so you guys can take a look at what's available and how you should proceed based on whether or not you're free to play or pay to win. All right? So, thank you again for watching. This is Noodsgaming. Keep playing, guys.